and wrestle with it on its own terms. But yeah, I'm at a loss for anything else to say. I feel like I just have to give this a 10. Yeah, I'm just really like devastated and just left with nothing else to do. I'm cornered here, and it's just like, yeah. And so yeah, there you go. Aha. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you...
I decide what you like, bitch.
Anthony Fantano, aka TheNeedleDrop, aka the internet's busiest music nerd. Where do I even start? For the few people who have no idea what I'm talking about, Anthony Fantano is probably the most popular music critic of today's day and age. He's been reviewing music for over 14 years now, as he started out as a radio show, switched to a blog, and then eventually became the YouTube channel that we know and love today. Anthony Fantano is someone who, as a music-based content creator, I'm kind of forced to know about. When it comes to rating, reviewing, and critiquing albums, Anthony is just kind of the guy. And it's for a good reason too. He is very, very good at what he does. And very quickly, before we get too far into this video, I want to make a couple of things very, very clear. I'm in no way against Anthony Fantano, his reviews, or even his channel. In fact, it's actually the opposite. I actually pay him as a patron for extra content. But with that being said, I'm also not here to defend him and his takes. He's made it clear on Twitter that he is more than capable of defending himself, and to be honest, I of all people don't need to be his knight in shining armor. But Jackson, you may be asking, your thumbnail says you shouldn't listen to Anthony Fantano, and yet here you are openly supporting him, paying money to see his content, and advocating for his channel. What's the deal? Well, frankly, the deal is that...
Sound the alarm. Men like something.
Look, I get that it can be hard to grasp the concept that all music is subjective. I mean, hell, for the longest time, I myself thought that music was either inherently good or inherently bad, and I based what I listened to and how I reviewed off of whether or not music was unbiasedly good or not. Because in my head, it was impossible for someone to think that Lil Pump is better than Kendrick Lamar, or that Kanye West isn't a top 10 rapper of all time. It got so bad to the point where I would rank artists' albums, and I would have one column for what was like the objectively good answer, and then one column for my favorite. It was stupid, it didn't make any sense. But thankfully, people started calling me out, saying that what I was doing was stupid, and eventually I switched sides, and I'm now on the team that music is subjective, and people have different opinions on music, and that's just the way it is. There is no objective best of anything music related. And since then, I've found that it's become a lot easier to enjoy the music that I really like. People really aren't lying when they say that ranking art objectively takes away from its value, especially to the listeners like me who have that dumbass mentality. Anyways, we're getting off topic. What does any of this have to do with Anthony Fantano? The thumbnail of this video says why you shouldn't listen to TheNeedleDrop, and that message isn't directed towards everybody. This video is going to talk about two different groups of people that I've seen that like to surround Anthony Fantano and his fan base. While I'm talking, I want to see if you can spot the similarities between these two groups, because on a surface level, they seem to be very different, but once you kind of dig into it, these two groups might have more in common than you might think.
Relevant. I'm feeling a light to decent 6 on this thing, but that's just my opinion.
As someone who was constantly surrounded by music, whether it be through my YouTube channel, through my Discord server, through my albumoftheyear.com reviews, it's nearly impossible to be in the music scene and never have a hot take. I mean, I already have a small handful of hot takes underneath my belt, but I've only been on the internet for a fraction of the time that Anthony has. And look, I get it, okay? I get it. It sucks to see a music critic that you look up to disagree with you on an album that you love. People have this natural urge to want people to agree with them, especially when it comes to an art so universally loved as music. But for some reason, when it comes to Anthony Fantano and his reviews, people get so personally offended whenever he has a hot take. You literally cannot go in a comment section of his without seeing someone bring up the Mac Miller 3 out of 10, the Lil Pump self-titled 7 out of 10, or, of course, infamously, the My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy 6 out of 10. I especially get mad about that last one, not because I disagree with the take, but because a 6 out of 10 isn't a bad score. I mean, it's not as good as some people would have hoped, but Kanye fans act as if giving any album of his anything underneath a 9 out of 10 is a crime. And it's just not. A 6 out of 10 is a good score. And not only that, but they don't listen to his review at all. They see the number, they get mad, and then they aren't even willing to hear him out fully. And that leads to this culture of fans that are more interested in the score than the review, and that comes with a lot of negatives. And not just in the critic to viewer relationship, but also in the artist to critic relationship. Most recently, rapper Isaiah Rashad has taken shots towards Fantano on Twitter after his album The House is Burning received a 5 out of 10 score. He argued that because Fantano wasn't black, he wouldn't be able to identify with the album. He also made the claim that Fantano only reviewed his album for views and that he was purposefully hate-bombing people for clout. This statement clearly has a lot of flaws with it, but like I said before, I'm not here to defend Fantano. If you want to see the review in question, I'll link it in the comments so that he can speak for himself. The only comment that I feel able to make as an outsider looking in is that based on his comments and criticisms, I don't think that Isaiah Rashad watched the review of his own album. And this is just part of that first group that I was talking about. I call them numberheads because to them, the most important part of the video is the little number in the description, and that's it. To them, that's the whole video. And look, I get it, it's tempting, I do it all the time too. I'll peek in the description and then I won't watch the review. But there's a difference. And that difference is that you won't find me criticizing him in the comments on a review that I didn't watch. Because why would I give a shit about some random bald guy's opinion on an album that I enjoyed? Grow the fuck up.
I'm loving this record. Freaking loving this record. Freaking loving this record.
For any one of you who are brave enough to enter albumoftheyear.org or rateyourmusic.com, you know exactly who I'm about to describe. The people whose top 5 album chart looks like this. That's right, we're talking about the other side of the coin, the Anthony Fantano stans. And before you ask, the answer is yes. They're just as bad. These are the mindless fucks who are too scared to voice their own opinions, and so instead they spend their time removing their pride from their bodies. All their pride is gone now. And then they repeat everything that they hear Anthony Fantano say. But stop. Okay, before you jump to the comment section, yes, I am aware that I share opinions with Anthony Fantano. That's not the problem here. I'm talking about the fans of his that will simply ignore their opinions on an album just because Anthony Fantano said it was good. The kinds of people to say something like, I mean, yeah, I wasn't a fan of Daughters, but I mean, Fantano gave You Won't Get What You Want a 10, so they have to be good, right? You're telling me you weren't a fan of the new Spelling album? This guy, am I right? You know Fantano gave it a 10, right? I'm sorry, what is it you're listening to? No, I'm just Googling what Fantano gave it before I tell you my opinion. Stop it. Look at yourself. This group is arguably worse than the last, because at least the last group had their own fucking opinions. I just don't get it. Is it that hard? Is it that hard to listen to an album and say if you honestly liked it or not? Is it that big of a deal to you? I mean, let's say you have a hot take. Let's say you honest to God have a hot take. What's the worst that's going to happen? Worst case scenario is that you get a little bit of flack on the internet. And even then, if you're honest and respectful, most people will still give you a chance and listen to your perspective, and you can have a conversation. Anyways, that's it. Those are the two groups of people that I see following anything Anthony Fantano does. But guess what? Newsflash, I'm not Anthony Fantano. Holy shit, I thought this guy was Anthony Fantano the whole time? Are you kidding me? Why does this matter so much to me? And so I'll say once again,
yeah, it does kind of roll off the tongue like vomit.
Look, at the end of the day, music is something that almost every single person on the planet enjoys. It's one of those art forms that has a little bit of something for everyone. And because of that, people develop a taste over time. Your parents, your friends, where you grow up, all of this contributes to how you enjoy music. So it's stupid to sit around and think, oh yeah, there's only one take on this album that I can accept as being the real one, the objective one. And for some reason, Anthony Fantano just happens to attract the people that agree with that. They think that there's only one objective take when it comes to certain albums. And that included me, okay? There was a time when I gave Logic's The Incredible True Story an unbiased 7. An unbiased 7, and then I immediately put it in my top 5 albums of all time because I said, well, this is my favorite album, but it's not objectively good. So look, if you are one of the people who immediately freaks out anytime Anthony Fantano posts a video you disagree with, or if you immediately jump on the hype train anytime Anthony Fantano posts a 10 and you haven't heard the album yet, do everyone a favor, including yourself, and stop listening to him. You know what? Stop listening to everyone's music opinions for like a month. Let's say a month. Just take some time to yourself to explore what you like. Listen to some albums that intrigue you. Listen to some songs that you think might be good. And this is the most important part. Form your own fucking opinions. And once you do that, maybe just maybe, you can come back and we can have an honest discussion about music, what makes it great, and how much of a dick you were when you gave To Be Kind a 10 out of 10 without even listening to it. Anyways,